Welcome to Sports Talk. 2026 Suffolk County Sports Hall of Fame inductee. That's happening in May. Congratulations.
Thank you, Bob. Appreciate it.
That is so awesome. So what I want to do today, I want you to just take the audience on your journey, how you got started in sports. I want to know who your inspirations were, how you went from CI over to St. Anthony's. There's some things I read about at Brown that, to me, stands to this day as incredible. I'm a football guy, so we'll talk about that. So just take me through where the sports career started and how you end up in the Hall of Fame.
Okay. Thanks for having me, Bob. I sincerely appreciate it. I guess it starts at 295 Cozine Avenue in Brooklyn, East New York.
Brooklyn.
Yes. My father worked out here in Wyandanch. My mother worked for the city. So I describe myself as the Skelly champion of Cozine Avenue.
Oh,
Okay, for those that don't know what Skelly is, it's a game that you play on your knee. So I ruined a bunch of pants and jeans and so forth. You cut up crayons and put them into bottle caps in order to make them heavy to stay against the ground. And then you play a board that goes around a square rectangular board where you shoot the bottle cap, flicking the bottle caps into the numbers 1, 2, 9. Okay.
Really?
Yes. So I was the Skelly champion.
Okay. All right.
So
young eye-hand coordination.
Young eye-hand coordination. My grandmother throwing change from the 4th floor apartment balcony to me to go get ice cream when the ice cream man was coming.
Oh,
Outstanding.
you got to catch the ching.
That's right. You got to catch the dance. That's right. So I would play basketball. I had an imagination. I was an only child until I was 12 years old.
Okay.
So I had an imagination of playing by myself and everything by myself. So I would take the wire mesh garbage cans, put them up against the wire fence, and that would be my basketball. So I would throw my little basketball against the fence for a bank shot. I'd throw it straight in from a switch, make some moves, and do that type of thing. And then I'd come inside, and I guess this is
pre-Nerf, or I didn't know anything about Nerf.
Right.
I would take a Kleenex tissue box. I would cut a rectangle in the top and a rectangle on the bottom, and I would tape it to the top of the door. I would take paper towel, and then I would use masking tape to make the ball, and that's what I would use that to make shots.
Wow.
Okay, so when I turned 6, we moved to Long Island. Now, I can't say when people ask, where did you grow up? I can't really claim Brooklyn because I really didn't grow up in Brooklyn.
Listen, I was born in the Bronx.
Gotcha.
So I tell everybody I was born in the Bronx. We moved to Port Jeff 3 months later.
Okay.
But I'm like, they're like, where are you from? I'm like, I was born in the Bronx.
Right.
You know,
got it. And
never
so
knew it.
we moved to Central Islip, and I think that is where the journey really begins. Now, revisionist history, as an adult, I found out all of the history at Central Islip High School back in the 60s with the football teams.
Yeah.
And when I first got there, John and Mike Tice were there. Len McCrae was there.
Was George O'Leary?
George O'Leary was the coach. And I tell people the memory of me and Central Islip with respect to football was I would go to a game, and at that point, the new high school had just opened.
Okay.
So the old high school was around the corner. So the locker rooms, the showers, and everything were around the corner. And after the game, the team would line up in formation and walk to the other school. And all I heard was the click, click, click on the pavement. And I thought, to this day, it's a sound that I have not forgotten. And that was the old days with the black cleats with the little stripe on the top.
Absolutely.
So and we had just started PAL football. Police Officer Tom Riley and Mr. Kavanaugh.
You could edit that out.
And Mr. Kavanaugh had started PAL football. And so at that point, my group was the youngest group to start with Central Islip PAL football. And we were kind of that feeder program for the high school. And so on my block, I had tremendous athletes. I had tremendous basketball players. Like I said, I had within a half-mile radius, I had Mike and John Tice. I had Len McCrae. I had James and Steven Jackson. I had a boatload of athletes to kind of come after, and they helped me along with my journey. I was the little guy trying to shoot from the hip, and they would block my shot, and I had to learn how to adapt and overcome.
But they let you roll with them,
but
which
they let
is
me
good
roll with
because
them.
a lot of times
Absolutely.
They don't let younger
That's
guys
right.
in.
Absolutely.
They must have saw a little something there.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope so. And so that's really where it began, was PAL football. As far as the people that I saw, I mean, going back then, I played quarterback, so there wasn't a lot of black quarterbacks. So I guess my first entry to a black quarterback was Condridge Holloway, who was born number 7 at the University of Tennessee.
Really?
He was an outstanding baseball player.
Okay.
He had a very long and very good career in Canada as a black quarterback, but he was the person that I saw.
Wow.
And so, I think there was Vince Evans at USC, but because they played on the West Coast, there wasn't a lot of those games. Condridge being at Tennessee, I got to see him a lot, and that's where I kind of
I
took
always
my
think of like Steve McNair.
Right.
He's kind of the first guy that pops in my head.
Correct. But professionally, I was there for Joe Gilliam, who played behind Terry Bradshaw. Of course, I saw Doug Williams come up. So that was a treat to finally, after watching him on television, then be able to meet him in person, live in the flesh. But Central Islip, the PAL was really where I cut my teeth.
And were you considered a star back then when you were playing PAL? Like, were you the best guy on the team?
Well, I was one of many. So, I had Doug McBride, who had played at Central Islip, was all county, all league, currently retired brigadier general. So, he's done okay.
He did fine, yeah.
We had Randy Beverly, who won the Hanson Award at Central Islip. He was behind me. I had Byron Hurt, who was behind me, went to Northeastern, played quarterback.
So you were playing with real,
I was playing with
guys
and
back
we
in the
played
day.
All day. That was at a time where, we would play out in the street and then go to practice, right? We would watch it on television and then go outside and try to duplicate who we saw on television, because that's pre-24-hour news, 24-hour sports.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
that's all we did growing up,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
Playing ball as much as you could.
Correct. And so my mom didn't think, she was a Catholic school girl. She went to Archbishop Cathedral High School in Manhattan.
Okay.
And so she didn't like the fact that I wasn't coming home with homework. I wasn't bringing it home. I was doing it at school. And so she made the decision to take me out of the public school and move me to the Catholic school.
Oh, okay.
So it was at that point.
How'd you feel about that at the time? Was that tough?
Didn't want to leave your friends.
Right. That's what I'm thinking.
That was really the big thing. But I saw them every day after school, so it really wasn't that much of a problem. And the PAL, I was still in the PAL. But then when I got to the 8th grade, I guess my principal sister, Eleanor, saw something, and she called my father at work, and she told him, Mr. Bigby, most of the kids that go to St. John of God go to Central Islip High School or St. John the Baptist.
Correct.
I would like to see you send Keiron to St. Anthony's. And my father said, sister, if that's where you want him to go, that's where he's going.
Really?
And neither one of us knew where St. Anthony's was, what a friar was, or anything like that.
Gotcha.
Right? But I will say, I often wonder, and I wish I would have gotten an opportunity as an adult to ask Sister Eleanor what she saw. Because this is 1978, 1979. St. Anthony's is all boys. It's majority white. I'm the first, it's been told to me, I was the first black football, basketball, baseball, and lacrosse player at St. Anthony's.
Yeah, and I was going to get to that.
Yeah.
How did you possibly play 4 sports? That's amazing. Did they let you do 2 at once, or did you play baseball one year, then lacrosse the next year?
I played baseball my first 2 years and then played lacrosse my last 2 years.
2?
Yes.
Wow. I mean, that just speaks to your athleticism right there. To be able to, because lacrosse guys are lacrosse guys.
Yes.
My boys were lacrosse guys. And why they played 1 year of baseball when they were little.
Right.
And there just wasn't enough contact.
Correct.
We were football, wrestling, and lacrosse.
Okay.
But for you to do 4 sports, and letter in all of them and do really well in all of them and be recruited in football and basketball. I mean, truly, truly, truly amazing accomplishments.
Well, I was fortunate. I played with a bunch of very good to great players. I had some outstanding coaches, and I had...
Who were some of those outstanding coaches that stay in your mind?
Well, I'll be selfish. My dad coached me in PAL. There was a gentleman by the name of Red. Well, his name was Anthony, but he was Coach Red. D.G. and Tommaso.
Okay.
He would be proud of me that I got that. So he was basically my first offensive coordinator. He was my first, watching film type coach. And I'm 7-year-old, 8-year-old,
Sure.
9-year-old. And I played for him and my dad and Mr. Barnes from the time I was 7 until I graduated PAL at 13. My dad, had so much wisdom. He didn't talk to me on the football field. Red was my coach.
That is
If
awesome.
there was any issue, I had to take it up with Red. My father didn't talk about it. When we came home, we didn't talk about what went on, what plays we were running or anything like that. He allowed Red to do everything.
Your dad, I would say, is such a wise man. I coached my entire life, and I coach my boys. And one of my best friends is the wrestling coach at West Hampton, he's retired now, but he had 3 boys. And we talk about exactly what you just said about your dad, that every coach needs to know that. If you have a son, let him be your son first.
Right.
If you're going to coach him, you be part of the staff, but be a dad first. Let somebody else be that coach that's going to stay. And by the way, they listen better that way.
Yeah.
You don't want to hear it from dad all the time. You don't want him harping on you when things are bad.
Correct.
So
Absolutely.
amazing. Props to your dad
Absolutely. And so then when I got to high school, in basketball, I had Dennis Gaffney, who was a St. Anthony's alum that coached me as a freshman and coached me as a sophomore and kind of showed me the ropes of fundamental basketball because I played for Gus Alfieri, and Gus Alfieri was all about the fundamentals. You did it that way or you didn't play.
Yeah, I love it.
And so I
Love
had
it.
to learn that. And then in football, I played for Tony Antonucci, who was a star at Central Islip High School, coached at St. Anthony's. He coached me. So he brought me up to the varsity as a sophomore because as a freshman, I was still playing PAL.
Okay.
And so as a sophomore, he brought me up to the varsity. I was a backup on the varsity. I played starting wide receiver, but I backed up at quarterback. As a junior, I became the starting quarterback. And we were a wing T school because the wing T was big back then.
Right.
But he allowed me to throw because he knew
I was going to say, you're not getting a ton of action.
Right. He knew I could throw the ball all over the place. And he pretty much allowed me to run my own plays, call my own shots and everything
Really?
like that. Yeah. And so as a senior, he had left to go coach the Merchant Marine Academy. And so I got Greg Toop.
Wow.
What
year was your senior year?
1983.
83.
82 season, 83
82,
graduation.
83.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Yep. And so that went from there. And then Coach Alfieri on the basketball court. And we won the Class A state championship for Catholic schools that year.
What position?
I played the point guard.
You did?
Yeah. So I was fortunate. Somebody's misfortune became my fortune. Coming up, the gentleman that had played the point guard, Richie Boyle, he broke his wrist going into the season. And so he was unable to play for that season. And so it ended up me being the point guard.
Yeah.
And, we played a little bit differently than Gus sometimes wanted us to play because Gus wanted to sometimes take the air out of the ball. Mm-hmm. We would beat teams.
I was going to say, at some points in the game, you want to just hand it off, run that clock.
Correct. And so it was a nice marriage. It was definitely, I learned a lot about the game, a lot of when I watched basketball. Coach Alfieri's idiomatic expressions come back. What's the purpose of an inbounds play, Keiron? It's to get the ball in bounds, Coach. Yeah, it's not to score. It's to get the ball in bounds.
We're talking about your journey through high school. Now, at the end of, when did you start getting those Division I offers, which ultimately led you to Brown University, and why Brown?
Okay, they came early for lacrosse.
Which they often do on Long Island.
I got North Carolina. I got West Point. I got Syracuse.
Were you running midi?
Yes.
I figured,
yes. At that point, only real men play the whole entire field.
Yeah.
But but as the game has progressed, there's a level of respect for the skill that these guys have today.
Sure.
I didn't have that skill back then.
Well-
I could run faster than people.
Right,
I had
right.
moves
You can
from
dodge.
I could dodge and do that
Right.
type of stuff. But in terms of hitting the top right corner, 100 times in a row, that was not me.
Yeah,
that was
yeah,
not me.
yeah,
But
but you didn't need to back then.
Yeah, back then
They
you
just-
didn't need to.
Hey,
Yes.
you're a great athlete. You're running midfield. You got the motor to
Yeah.
go. You can beat everybody up and down.
Correct.
That's the guy we want.
Correct. So that's where it kind of started. Basketball was somewhat slow, and I think because I popped up as a senior.
Sure.
Right. As a junior, I was playing, but I wasn't playing enough for people to really take notice. I think it started that summer. So I played in the Rockville Center Summer League, was on the all-tournament team for that. I played in the Smithtown West Summer League. We won that going into my senior year. I was the MVP of the league.
And you were playing point guard?
And I was playing point guard. So I think that started it. And then, of course, Gus having connections throughout, Tom Kachowski, who did the high school basketball report. He was one of the guys that ran 5-star basketball camp.
Okay.
So I had gone to 5-star, so I got a little bit of buzz from that.
Yeah. Place
and,
to be.
And because I had the grades, that's when the Ivy League started looking. But I still really wanted to play football, coming through high
Gotcha.
school. And so I get to March of my senior year, and I haven't picked a school. And so Stanford is on the docket. Dr. Tom Davis had left Boston College to go coach Stanford basketball. Bill Walsh had just left to go to the 49ers. And so now
Yeah.
Stanford was kind of on the docket.
Oh, yeah.
And
Great school.
neither sport wanted to give me a scholarship for fear that I would play the other.
Really?
So they were only offering me to come out on financial aid, and at that point I didn't feel it was feasible for my parents
Sure.
to be able to pay for me to go 3,000 miles away for school and only on financial aid. So
And
I-
you earned it.
yes, so I get selected to play in the Newsday Classic.
Mm-hmm.
And the gentleman that's writing for Newsday at that time, Mike Candell, is good friends with my soon-to-be college basketball coach, Mike Singheiser, at Brown.
At Brown.
And so he tells Coach Singheiser, I've got this kid playing in the Newsday Classic, all Long Island first team, went to 5-star, yada, yada, yada. I think you should take a look. And so we play in the Newsday Classic. I have a conversation with Coach Singheiser, and I end up at Brown.
Wow. And did you talk to him about football as well?
I did not.
Did he know that you were interested?
At that point, when he made the decision that he was going to take me to Brown, I had given up all thoughts of playing football. My last football game at that point was going to be the North-South football game that
The
they played at
North-South
Central
All-Star.
Islip
Yeah.
because I had grown up a PAL kid.
Sure.
I had watched that game from when it started until now it's my time to be able to play.
Absolutely.
The hollowed field of Central Islip High School that nobody went on, that had lights and perfect grass. And I said, okay, that's going to be my last game. So I play in the North-South game. I was expecting to play quarterback, but it happened that the All Long Island first team quarterback, Rob Varello from Comac,
I remember that
was
name.
going to be the quarterback. So Doc Holliday, who had coached Kings Park,
Of course.
pulls me to the side because Kings Park and St. Anthony's at that time were right next to one another. So he says to me, I know you want to play quarterback, but I've got the All Long Island first team quarterback
Sure.
here. There's no way you're going to play quarterback. I said, okay. He says, well, what do you want to play? I said, well, I will play receiver, and you kindly tell Mr. Varello to throw me the ball. He says, I think Mr. Varello's
classic.
already good with throwing you the ball. And so we were underdogs in that game.
Really?
Yes. The South had Ted Gregory that played
I
at
know
East,
Teddy.
played
Sure.
at East Islip, went to Syracuse.
Syracuse, yep.
George Cooper that played at Wyandanch and
Yep.
went to Ohio State. We were the underdogs. We won 14-13. Varello threw 2 TD passes to me. I won the offensive MVP.
Oh, man.
Okay. So now that, in a way, started the football journey, but not right away.
Gotcha.
So I get to Brown. I'm sitting in my freshman advisor's counseling session. He was the freshman coach, and the varsity head coach bursts in the door with a cutout of the Newsday article from the North-South football game.
This is the varsity football coach.
At Brown, yes.
Gotcha.
Comes in and says, holds up the article, says, is this you? And I said, yes, that's me. And he says, well, why aren't you playing football? I said, well, you didn't recruit me to play football. I got recruited to play basketball.
Yeah.
And so that's my freshman year.
Mm-hmm.
So I go out for we go out for the basketball team. I play sparingly. There were some challenges, but I play sparingly.
Sure.
Didn't play as much as, of course, the kid felt he should have played. And so I said, I'm going to go play football. No athletic scholarships in the Ivy League.
Correct.
I'm going to go play football.
Yeah.
The football coach leaves, and they bring in a new football coach. Okay? So they bring in John Rosenberg.
And he didn't read the article.
No. No, he had no clue. He had no clue to who I was. So he comes in. He was an assistant to Joe Paterno at Penn State. He was a position coach with the Philadelphia Stars in the USFL.
Polished guy.
And he was trying to build a program similar to, a normal college top 25 team, spring football, things of that nature. So he says to me, we go out, he holds tryouts. He says to me, well, Keiron, what position would you like to play? I said, well, Coach, I played quarterback all my life. I'd like to play quarterback. He says, well, Keiron, we have our quarterback. I made a somewhat snide comment based on I had watched the games.
Sure.
And he said, well, what other position would you play? He said, well, then I guess I would play receiver because I'm probably the fastest guy in the school, including the track team. I would probably play wide receiver. He says, no, we have our receivers. Keiron, you're going to play safety. And I said, Coach, that is an absolute mistake. And let me tell you why. I have never.
A man of confidence.
Yes,
I love it.
I have never played defense in my life.
Really? So you never played? Really?
No. The only time I played defense
PAL or
in PAL was when we almost like a remember the Titans type thing where, he tells Sunshine that he's going to play on the deep. They're going to go both ways.
Sure.
So in times where there was a very good receiver and we wanted to shut him down at the end of the game, they would put me in the game and say, you don't have any tackling responsibilities, just cover that guy.
Gotcha.
So and that's what I told the coach. I said, if you want me to go out there and cover somebody, I can go out there and cover somebody,
right,
but don't expect me to tackle. He says, no, Keiron, no, this is the decision. I said, okay. So I'm 160 pounds soaking wet. In the style of play that they were going to play, there were going to be times where I would be 5-by-3 on a tight end to the wide side of the field, and potentially if toss sweep is coming that way, I'm taking on
You're playing strong safety outside backer.
Right, I'm taking on a 265 pound. So I said, okay, I better bulk up. So I go home that summer, right? I am eating every steak, every potato, drinking every milkshake, eating all the eggs that Mother Nature can get, and I go back to college 163 pounds soaking wet.
Wow. That was a hell of a job there, gaining those 3 pounds.
Right?
By the way, let me just interrupt quick. How's mom and dad about this, you changing sports? Was that a challenge for them?
It wasn't.
They were good with it.
They were good with it.
Okay.
They were good with it.
Continue on at 163.
Okay, so get back to school and playing defense, and I'm free safety, but there are times when I'm lined up as a strong safety. And I am just getting beat to shreds. I am in the ice whirlpool every day after practice. I'm going home. I'm walking home, limping and so forth.
I mean, you're playing linebacker.
Yeah. And 2 weeks before the first game, I called my dad and I said, I can't do this. This is just not fun. And so he says, well, get your equipment, knock on the door of the coach, sit down with the coach, and have a man-to-man conversation with him. So I go to the football office. I sit down. Coach says, Keiron, we'll play you both ways. I said, Coach, it's not about playing both ways. I just don't want to play defense. He was like, okay, Keiron. So I hand in my stuff. I go back to my dorm room.
Wow.
A week later, the position coach, Ron Brown, who left Brown after I was there. He was the assistant to Tom Osborne at Nebraska.
At Nebraska?
Long time assistant coach, very well respected in the college ranks.
And that was when Nebraska was
When
real
Nebraska
good.
was Nebraska.
Yeah.
And
Frazier
comes to me and says, Keiron, your backup is not going to cut it. I need you to come back out. And I said, okay, Coach.
Really?
And so I go back out. And the first game.
That was that game?
That was that game.
Three interceptions in one game, which is unheard of. 216 return yards.
Yes.
2 for touchdowns.
2 for touchdowns.
I mean, that is incredible. when I read that, I read it like 5 times. And I was like, well, this guy, and I was actually reading about you in high school, and I saw wide receiver, and I didn't see anything. I didn't want to interrupt him, but I didn't see anything about D-back at all. And I'm like, but the biggest thing written about you in Brown, which would be written about anybody, because I think to today, it still stands as a record at Brown, and I don't know, is it NCAA, right?
All divisions.
And all divisions, Division 1, 2, and 3.
Yep.
I mean, that is how did you feel about that? I mean, oh my God.
Well, I will tell you, so I was nervous.
Were you just reading this guy?
Yeah, I was nervous as all get out going into it. Because again, I wasn't a tackler. And so, therefore, I was...
Neither was Dion.
Yeah. I was fearful.
He did okay.
Yeah, I was fearful of being exposed, right? You know, the eye in the sky doesn't lie, so to speak. So they can see I'm timid, trying to make a tackle and things of that nature. So the first interception was in the first quarter. Quarterback goes back to pass. He thinks he has the wheel route on the outside. I'm playing strong safety. I don't think he thinks I can get there. So he thinks he can thread the needle.
Yeah.
And I get there, right? So I run it back for I think about 20 yards. So the second interception is the second quarter, right before the half. Yale is driving down the field. Tight end is crossing across my face. Quarterback again thinks I can't get there. I get there. So now I'm running down the Yale sideline, and I figure, okay, let me cut across the field. As I'm going to cut across the field, I go to switch hands from my right hand on the sideline to my left hand, and I drop the ball.
Really?
I drop the ball.
That's not on Wikipedia.
It's not on Wikipedia. I have it on tape.
Yeah, I believe you.
Right?
Oh,
I drop
man.
the ball. The ball takes a forward bounce and bounces right up into I never broke stride.
Wow.
And continue to go on. Okay? So now halftime comes. We're sitting in at halftime, and my captain, Pat McCormick, comes to me and says, I love you picking off the passes. I love you, doing your thing.
Yeah.
But if you don't run it back, we don't have to go back out. And for a second, I'm thinking about it, and I'm saying, did he just ask me not to run it back for a touchdown? Right?
Oh, my goodness.
So we go through the game. Now we're in the fourth quarter. Yale is driving. So they're on about, I guess, the 13-yard line. Quarterback rolls out to his left. I'm on the opposite side of the field, and so I'm going with the play. And I see the tight end leaks out again. And again, the quarterback doesn't think I can get there.
And this is in the end zone?
This is in the end zone. I'm 6 yards deep in the end zone. And I grab it in the end zone and take it down the Brown sideline back for a touchdown.
106 yards.
Yeah. So,
unreal.
So it was...
what a day.
Yeah, what a day. 3 sophomores started that day in the defensive backfield. George Riley, number 25, he ran every single yard with me. Each time. He's the first guy I grab each time when I got to the end zone. Yeah,
that
absolutely.
Is awesome.
It was a great day.
Yeah,
it's a great day.
That's and if you had 3 interceptions in a season,
right,
and 2 for touchdowns, and of that length, that would be amazing.
Correct.
But in one day against Yale, incredible.
Yep.
And Keiron Bigby is born as the star at Brown.
Correct.
And on defense.
Correct. And so. So, needless to say, I went back to the basketball court after the season, and I had won the ESPN Player of the Day, thanks to Chris Berman, who was a Brown alum. So I'm sure I won it because he was.
Well, I'm
he
sure
was
there
there.
was some talent there.
He was there, and then I also was selected as the Defensive Player of the Week on Sports Illustrated.
Yeah,
and oddly enough, the offensive player was Keith Byers from Ohio State.
Yeah, of course.
And Keith and I became good friends when he came to the Jets, and so we would play golf together. And I showed him that the first time. I said, let me show you something. And I showed him. He's like, wow. I was wondering who had done that because my highlight wasn't as good as your highlight, but I was wondering who that was. Absolutely.
So then you have your basketball and your football career at Brown.
Yes.
And then talk to me about getting into the NFL, how you got there. I know there was a strike year. and all that. Were you going in anyway?
Yes.
Were you, no matter what?
Yes. So
Tell us that story.
So what happened? So a gentleman by the name of Alan Herman, who runs Sports Stars Inc., sports agency. 20% of the agents represent 80% of the players in the NFL,
Sure.
and he was one of the 20%. Outstanding gentleman, Cornell grad, but had pretty much picked his players, a lot of small school people.
Ivy League guys?
Not necessarily. He had Eric Williams that played left tackle with the Cowboys. He had gone to Central State, which is actually my mother's alma mater in Ohio. He had Jonathan Vilma,
Sure.
right? He had Ricky Prohl. He had he represented Earl the Pearl Monroe for a little bit. He represented Ernest Biner. But he had back then there was no combine. So typically what would happen, you would have these people or coaches in the areas, and they would call him and say, hey, I've got this kid. I think he might be, something. And so there was a gentleman by the name of Ruby, who I guess was kind of his recruiter. And Ruby would call me on my dorm phone and say, hey, I want you to be interested in representing you. Alan Herman out of New York. He's a Long Island guy, so forth, so on. So I didn't know anything. I didn't know any better. So I said, okay, let's meet. And he had already had 2 players on the Redskins. And so I had a good 40 time. At that time, I was a sub 4.4 guy in the 40.
Sub 4.4?
Yep, I was a sub 4.4 guy in the 40.
Even today, that's unbelievable.
And so
that's why the quarterback he didn't know. He didn't know. It must not have been in the program.
Didn't see it on the scouting report.
No, not at all.
And so after that, when I got Washington was my first tryout.
Really?
Yes. And so the Cowboys had come. I think his name was John Wooten, was the big time scout for the Cowboys at that time, and he had come.
Was it at
Brown? So oddly enough, because there was no combine at that time, the scouts would go to the different colleges.
Gotcha.
At that time, Brown had a better athletic facility than the University of Rhode Island. So the University of Rhode Island, they would come over, and in return, we would be allowed to be there. Now, at that point, when I was there, Tom Earhart, who had played at Holy Cross in Queens and then went to URI, he was the big dog. He was the big gun there. And so they were all in Rhode Island to see him, and I was actually, kind of collateral damage, so to speak.
Sure.
But Washington, he had 2 players on the Redskins at the time, now Commanders, and so I got to try out there. So oddly enough, I fly down. We fly into Dulles, staying at the Dulles Marriott. I have on my 1986 New York Giants Super Bowl champion T-shirt.
That's what you have on.
That's what I have on.
That's not a good idea.
Not a good idea. So I'm running around
Washington.
I'm running around the hotel to warm up, and the gentleman that comes to pick me up is like, you might not want to wear that over.
I tend to agree.
Parcells and Gibbs don't get along. You might not want to wear that over there. Okay, fine. Get over to the facility. I got dressed. I warmed up. I ran 2 40s, vertical jump, caught a down and out, a down and in, and a post, and the tryout was over.
That was it.
I walk into the locker room, and in my head, I said to myself, you must have sucked that it only took 15 minutes. And Bobby Bethard.
And you caught every ball?
I caught every ball. And Bobby Bethard walks in and says, we're going to sign you.
Wow.
And
Your heart drop?
Drops. I ask him, is there a phone I can use? And I call my dad.
Oh.
Right? And I call my dad and I tell him, of course, and my dad in his form, that's good, Kay. When are you going to be back at school?
Really?
That was it. Right? But if you would have known my father, that was him. Right? A story. I was getting ready to graduate from St. Anthony's. I was out in the yard. I must have been raking something in the yard, and I was tearing up the yard. And my mother comes outside, and she says, Kay, what's the matter? And I said, I don't think Dad is proud of me. And she says, are you crazy? I said, well, he's never told me good game. He's never told me, you're doing a good job. He's never said that. He said, okay, Kay, tomorrow morning you get in the car, you drive over to his office, get there before he gets there, and go look in his office. I said, okay, Ma. I get in the car.
You're going to make me teary-eyed here.
I drive to Wyandanch. Everybody knows me, so I say, hey, little B, how you doing? Your father's not here. Oh, yeah, I know. Your father's not here. I walk into the office, and a wall, plastered, articles, pictures, and I felt like crap. I really did.
But you didn't know.
I didn't know, but
You didn't
I
know.
felt like crap. And
that's maybe the kind of man he was. You
yeah.
know, he wanted to hold
Yep.
it close to the vest, but in his office,
Yep, absolutely.
it was all about you.
Absolutely.
And maybe he thought that's the drive. You
Yeah.
know, it keeps you a little hungry
yeah,
to think
absolutely.
that way.
Absolutely. And so I understood it.
Yeah.
Later on. But so we get ready for camp, and again, at this point, I am 175 pounds soaking wet.
Really bulking up.
Really bulking up.
Yeah.
And so,
And they're bringing you in, by the way.
yeah, as a free agent,
What position?
wide receiver.
Wide receiver.
Yes.
And you hadn't played wide receiver at all.
No, I played. So we'll go backwards. So
Okay.
so I played defensive back my sophomore year because at that point freshmen weren't allowed to play varsity in the Ivy League. So my sophomore year I played DB. I set the records. My junior year I get moved to wide receiver.
Really?
Right.
Which I know is like where you want to be.
Right.
But after that game,
Correct.
I don't know if I'm ever moving you up in
And,
defense.
and my father, he never told me, but he had conversations with my brother later that he wishes I would have stayed at DB
On defense.
because then that would have been a better entry and longevity in the NFL than wide receiver was.
Gotcha.
But I just didn't have it in my heart to play
Yeah.
DB. So my junior year, I play wide receiver. We play Richmond at Richmond, and both quarterbacks go down. And on the plane coming back, coach says, you're going to play quarterback. So I play quarterback the last 2 games of the season.
I
did
love
well.
it. Love
and
it.
so the summer of my senior year, I'm thinking, okay, Keiron's going to be
back.
the quarterback, right? And so come back, and coach says, well, we're going to platoon. And I said, well, coach, I'm a senior. I don't know why we're platooning. And I just basically said, if you want to platoon, then that just means you just really don't really have faith in me at quarterback. I said, I'll just go back to wide receiver. Oddly enough, the gentleman that ended up playing quarterback is now the president of the Kansas City Chiefs.
Really?
Yes. Great guy.
Yeah. Worked out.
Yeah, it worked out. Worked out for both of us.
Yeah,
but,
absolutely.
So I finished as a wide receiver.
Gotcha.
And so they brought me on as a wide receiver. Dan Henning, who had been the head coach of the San Diego Chargers at that point, had just gotten fired, and now he was the assistant head coach for the Redskins. He was a St. Francis prep guy.
Oh, there you go.
And so he and I kind of bonded
Local
over
guy,
that.
yeah, sure.
Right? And he was always telling me, look, a smart guy can make it in this league.
Did you guys beat them?
Yes.
Oh, good.
Smart.
Just check.
And I played with a guy at college that went to St. Francis Prep.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Yeah, Brian Murphy. Yep. And so we get through that. I go to camp. I make it until they cut down to 53.
Yep.
And
Active roster.
Active
right?
roster.
Yeah.
And
We have one of my son's best friends is on the Raiders right
Okay,
now.
beautiful.
So we learned that whole
Yeah.
thing about the 53.
So I was able to hang in there, and I think for the most part it was because I could play multiple positions. And so as they're, bring your playbook, coach wants to talk to you. So coach says, there's going to be a strike. I'm going to ask you now if you'd like to come back. Now, I'm a 21-year-old kid.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I don't know anything about unions. I don't know anything, right? And so I said, sure, coach, no problem. So I go home. 2 weeks in, I get a call. Charlie Casserly calls me, says, hey, it's time. Come on back.
Wow.
So
Are you feeling pressure like from Art Monk and any of those guys? Or
I'm not feeling pressure, only because when I went in there, I went in sort of as a fan. I had just watched these guys on television
Sure.
the year before. I had no misconceptions. Look, Gary Clark, Ricky Sanders, Art Monk are in the top 150 wide receivers all time.
All time. Absolutely.
There was no illusion for me that as a wide receiver at
Right.
5'11", 173 soaking wet, that I was going to be on that team.
Gotcha.
And so I looked at it as an opportunity that maybe I get something on film to be able to audition for somebody else.
Gotcha.
Fortunately or unfortunately, we were the exception to the rule because we were the ones that won 3 games. We were the ones that set up the Redskins for the playoffs.
Correct.
And the Redskins finished the deal and won the Super Bowl. Okay, so we were welcomed a little bit more than everybody else. Everybody else's experience, 32 teams that of replacement players, I'm sure was a very negative experience. I'm sure there was a blackballing. I'm sure no one will admit it publicly.
Right.
But they were not taking any of the players that played during that 3-game strike. They were not taking any of those players back onto teams. The only guys that got to remain, fortunately, there was a Northport kid, Craig McEwen, that played at Northport. He was out. He had great hands. He was kind of Joe Gibbs' perfect H-back. And so he got to stay and stayed with the big club. Anthony Allen, who had a pro career of like 8 years, and they had called him in during the replacement, he got to go back. But nobody else was really welcomed back outside of that. So I was in the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
And so, but it was a great experience. I mean, we're welcomed back. I go back to games and things of that nature. At that point, early on, I had purchased a Super Bowl ring because at that time they weren't giving us the ring. It wasn't until.
But I did. So I watched.
Yeah.
I watched your YouTube video, which another brought a tear to my eye. That the Commanders now invited you guys back.
Correct.
To give you those rings.
Correct.
I mean, that brought a tear to my eye, and you were telling your story to your son in the car.
Yes.
That was fantastic.
Yep.
I mean, truly fantastic.
Yep.
And really, I didn't know you that well then. And as I did my homework, I watched that video, and I said, boy, I mean, just the father-son thing just was beautiful. And going there to get the ring, proud of the role that you guys played in helping them win that championship.
Correct.
That's
I mean,
awesome.
People forget that those were 3 division games.
Yeah,
right.
absolutely.
And so, it was important for them to be able to, finish the job. And
Sure.
Look, I was excited. I grew up a Giants fan, but I had to switch allegiances automatically.
Yeah.
But and my best friend is a Giants fan. I take him to games down at FedEx. Well, now it's Northwest Stadium. Down at Northwest Stadium for the Commanders. I tell him, you can't wear anything blue, and you must cheer silently.
And you've built relationships.
Yes.
All over the league.
Absolutely.
You brought up some names earlier, guys that you see, guys that you go out with. I mean, what a life experience that, such a small, and I was an athletic director for a long time. And so I used to do, go over recruiting and what that's about, and talk to student athletes about going to a college where if they broke their leg, they'd still want to be at that college.
Correct.
Because the percentages are so low.
Right.
And you already, you in high school, reached that elite percentage, which was very small. And then in college to do it again, but it's still super small. Right. And then to get into the NFL, super small.
Right.
And then to contribute enough to go back, get that ring, which my buddy over there got to take a look at. I mean, that is just awesome.
Yes, I was telling your buddy. I said my life has not sucked. It has been great.
Yeah,
I've been truly
blessed.
blessed.
What do you want your legacy to be? If someone says your name, what does that mean to us?
Well, I guess it depends on where they say it. Right in Central Islip, I want to be known as somebody that held up the great tradition athletically, that held up the tradition of when a village truly raised their children.
Awesome.
That I think that's where that stands. As far as St. Anthony's is concerned, I want to be one of the people that help build and continue the traditions that go on there.
Yeah.
There is something to be said for that Franciscan brother education. There is something to be said, quite frankly, of being one of 4 minorities in a school of 1,000 boys, where if you tried to fast forward that today in today's environment, that you would think there would be a lot that would happen.
Sure.
And I got to say, I had a great college experience, but my high school experience was bar none the best experience. And a lot of that is due to the parents, the teachers, the administration, and the gentleman that I came through St. Anthony's with.
That's awesome.
And then in terms of Brown University, there were a lot of firsts at Brown, right? Fritz Pollard, played at Brown, first black football coach, NFL football coach.
Mm-hmm.
There's a gentleman by the name of Inman Page, who was the first black graduate at Brown University. I want to be considered in that realm that I did not tarnish the reputation, the name, the legacy that Brown has, and so forth.
Clearly you did.
Definitely I contributed to its athletic prowess. We won Brown's only Ivy League basketball championship while I was there. And so actually just came from being celebrated about 3 weeks ago.
Oh, is that right? Is it an anniversary year?
40 years.
40 years, wow.
40 years, the time flies.
40 years.
Right? So it was good to see a bunch of those guys and see what they're doing today and things of that nature. So, just wanting to be considered somebody that contributed.
Well, you surely did. And, Suffolk County knows it, and you're a Hall of Famer for us for life now. And you're going to be, enshrined. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming out.
No, thanks for having me.
I appreciate it.
Okay.
Honestly, my pleasure.
Thank you.
My pleasure. It was great.
Reach out for me. Reach out for me. Reach out for me.